are you doing? Hoping that all is well with you from wherever you are watching or listening to us. This is One on One, and my name, as always, is Eugene Anangwe. You can now start tweeting and get interactive with us also on our Facebook page via the links on your screen right now. My guest in studio today is none other than Mr. Mugani Rajon Bosco. Murangi Rajon Bosco. He is the Director of Women Economic Empowerment Unit at the Ministry of Gender and Family Promotion. Welcome to One on One.
Thank you, Eugene.
Now, we are here to talk about the issue of empowerment of women and, of course, look or give a global picture on this whole issue of gender equality, because some people have also misinterpreted it and only looked at it from one side of the coin, according to others who've been complaining and saying that no, when we talk gender, it's both male and female, but we seem to be having only the female being talked about in many cases. But all this and more we'll talk about right here in the program. Okay. But majorly, International Women's Day is around the corner, and would love to understand 20 years after the protocol on human rights and the women promotion of rights of women in Beijing. What have we been able to do so far? Are you able to take us through this journey and say, like, look, this is what Rwanda has been able to do to empower the women?
Thank you, Eugene. First of all, I would like to thank you to invite me in the show. And I would like to thank the management of Contact FM to give us this opportunity to share with you what has been going along with empowerment of women, but even with gender. So if, as you mentioned it in your introduction, if we see the journey of women and the journey of gender in general here in Rwanda, the actions talk for themselves, but this all have a reason. First of all, if you see the history of our country, Rwanda, and you see what has been happening all along, but specifically in these 21 years after the liberation of our country, you see what has been motivating the empowerment of women and younger girls. And this is other than nothing else but the political will. When the government took power in 1994, gender was seen as one of the development issues. And women, girls, and boys are given equal opportunity to participate into all aspects of our country. And this is how the journey started. Then you could see women in politics, you could see women in good governance, you see women in health, you see women in education, you see women in economic development, we see women in each and every aspect of our country. If you see the numbers talk for themselves. See women in the parliament, see women in peace and security, see women participating into each, mention it. We're really proud to say that the political will has moved each and every corner. And this is championed by our president, His Excellency Paul Kagame.
Now, there is the good thing of talking about the political will, but then there is also the issue of sustaining this.
Yes.
How do we plan to ensure that whether President Paul Kagame is there or not there, or the government of the day is there or not there, that we still have this sustained and maintained?
Thank you. As I've been saying, political, legal, and policies instruments were put in place. And these things are there to stay. That's one. Secondly, there was issue to deal with capacity building. We believe that if people are given a capacity, they are able to sustain themselves. And this is what we've been embarking on. And at this stage, we call people, mostly in rural areas and the like, to come and take up these existing opportunities. Utilize them so that they can sustain their families, their communities, and the country at large.
Then at the end of the day, because when you talk of the women in the rural areas, because this is also a very pertinent group of people, because when we talk of empowerment, or most of the time we talk of the politics, we talk of the positions in different sectors, but then there seems to be less talk on that woman in the rural area, unless if there is information about this that we don't get up here. What is it that your institution is doing, or your ministry is doing, to empower the women in the local, in the villages?
To start with, let me tell you that, as I told you, gender is a cross-cutting issue in nature. So when we are doing planning, in district development plans, we make sure that this component is being considered. But our institution, as a ministry in charge of coordinating and designing policies that promote gender and ensure gender equality, we make sure that we design those policies that are gender sensitive. But secondly, we make sure that these people who we see that they are less privileged, they could see themselves also into the lens of these policies and the programs that are put in place. So, for example, now you see, if we see the decentralization, when you talk about the role of women, our government have put in place this what we call Umurenje Saku. These are cooperatives that go up to each sector level. We have now 416. And when you see what is happening, women have opened up accounts. Women can now get loans through these circles that are approximate at their places. Women now have got, name it, they now own the land titles, and this has implication. I can tell you that now 26% of the land registration belongs to women.
26%. Is this number good for you? 26 out of 100.
26% belongs to women. Then 54% is shared. For men, is less than that. So we are proud to say that this has implication. These titles can be taken to acquire loan. These titles can be used for curators and the like. See what is happening in each sphere. We can't rule out there are still existing challenges of which you have to address as a government. And also all this has origin.
Then how do we deal with this without a particular group feeling like it is being left behind or another group is being favored at their expense? Because you said the 26% women and then the 54 shared. How do you deal with this in a way that the men don't feel like there is no equality here? When you talk of equality for others, it's 50-50, but then look,
let me come to
we
this.
are being left out. How do you address this?
You know, when we talk about gender, you see, we as I told you, we go to our history. How gender roles were being considered into families. There were specific activities and roles for men and for women. This is hard to change. We could say that, look, both girls and boys have equal opportunities.
Equal, but 54% shared, 26 women is not equal for others.
I'm coming to this. Maybe you let me try to make it understood. When you said that opportunities are available and they should be shared equally, when you see most of what they said at 26%, you could find that most of them are female household heads who register this land. But when you go to this 54, being shared also has a very good implication. It means that this land cannot be decided by only a man. It has to be co-decided, which has an implication. When there's production on that land, initially the produce out of the land could be decided by the man. But you could find that the woman could be the one who could have been involved into production. So this has implication. It means even though it's shared, even sharing what comes out of it becomes co-decided.
But you still haven't answered my question on the issue of the equality in the face value.
When you talk about equality, as I told you, it's a journey. And some people try to misinterpret it. They say that maybe we are favoring one part from another one. But we are trying to give equal opportunities to both women and men. Even some men have been complaining, by the way, saying that they are favoring women and girls on expenses of us men.
How do you address that? How do you make them understand that when you say that 26% is solely owned by women or owned by women, but 54 shared by men?
By the way, when I talk about this, we didn't go to each household and say that, please make sure this land is registered to women.
Then how do you count? Where is that number 26% coming from?
The number comes from the land registration, where they could say that according to the total land registered in our country, 26% have been registered on the women. On the women.
This is what we're saying.
Yes.
This is what we're saying.
So for us, what we implicate is that now people can understand that even today, women are able to what? To register land and they have land titles.
Some people
Secondly,
think, yes.
When you go to RDB and see companies that have been opened up by women, you'll be surprised. Go to the banks and see loans given out. If I go to Murenji Sacco now, more than 6 billion loans have been acquired by women.
And what about the men? What about the men? As a gender ministry, what about the men? Where are the men in your picture when you talk about this?
When I talk about this, I look at the history and the trend. When I talk about the trend, I say, where are they moving from and to? When you see our constitution of 2003, as it has been amended up to date, it was saying that at least 30% of political decision positions should be occupied by women.
Yes.
But look at the numbers. they are very good. They are above 30%.
Yes. Doesn't that worry you? That as an institution that is supposed to ensure, I'm really just pointing or poking on the issue of equality. What does equality mean? What does equality mean?
As a government,
yes,
we give people equal opportunities.
Equal. What is equal? And how do you describe equal?
When I talk about equal,
yes,
is having equal opportunities,
equal
chances,
yes,
equal available
is it
opportunities.
50, 10, 10,
equal doesn't, equal opportunities doesn't involve equal. 50-50.
What does it involve?
Equal, for example, we go to school. When you say that we have engineering course, we set a standard. It's open for everyone. But initially, could you say that boys are the ones to take up engineering courses? Go to mechanics. Go to it's open now for everyone. That's what we mean by equal. Go to the family issues and responsibilities. We could say that if the woman can go to participate into income-generating activities, the husband can remain back and do some activities that could be considered to be for what? For women.
For women.
Yes, that's the logic.
So for equal is not
in
the numbers.
The equal is in opportunities, responsibilities, opportunities,
yes,
and everything that is available for both women and men.
Yes, because I'm trying to look for the definition of equal.
Yes,
and so that we understand what that means.
Yes.
And according to what I'm seeing here, it means the same in number, amount, degree, rank, or quality. The same. So when you say that it doesn't mean numbers, then how do you quantify and say, look, we are now at equilibrium.
Now,
men are able to own 50%.
Anyway, let me come to you.
Women 50%.
When you see our population, as it has been, according to Population House census of 2012, women are almost 52%. So could we translate this number and say that each thing should take 50% share for women? I think no. No. We should see people based on their capabilities and on what they can do and what they can deliver. And that's what our government is waiting for. Everybody should come and present what he or she can do and compete on the available opportunities. That's what we need. Because
we have listeners also who are listening, and they're sharing their views on this whole issue of equality. Because we'll go deeper into the International Women's Day and also the success stories and why do we even celebrate this day here in Rwanda in our perspective. But we have Richard Kwisera on Twitter who's saying, I need to understand whether promotion of gender equality translates to women empowerment only. He insists on that fact of only. Does it just equal or translate to women empowerment only? And he comes back and asks, people should understand that gender equality is not a women issue. It's instead a human issue. It affects all of us. All of us, meaning men and women.
By the way, I can thank Mr. Kwisera. I think he understands what gender means. When you talk about gender, we mean giving opportunity, as I've been saying, making sure that a younger child, girl and boy, have equal opportunities at place. Secondly, when you talk about gender, we don't see woman in isolation. Woman stays in a society, stays in a family where there are children, where there is a husband. So we can't see just a woman in isolation. A woman involves into a family, involves into a society that can exactly fit in what is going around that family and that society. Thank you.
So that is your answer to him.
Yes.
That you just create a platform where the women and men are also able to exploit that opportunity in the same manner.
And as I have been telling you, if we talk about gender and gender promotion, we don't talk about women and girls. We talk about what I've been saying of availing opportunities to both men and women.
Does it stop there? Does it stop at just availing the opportunities? What more do you do?
The more we do, as I've been telling you, we see what has been the hindrances. As I've been telling you, like now if we say the quota system, it has the origin. As I was telling you, when you see what has been happening along with the past years, women were left back to participate into care economy, where they could be seen fetching water, taking about the care the sick, all these activities they don't pay back. But this has to change to make sure that they also can participate into income-generating activities, of which we are proud of today. Yes.
But then the risk with the modernization versus the cultural beliefs. When you look at this, how do you evade a conflict in these families where you have a man who is rooted in the traditional way of living, where they believe that my wife has to make food for me when I come back from work. This same wife of yours is today a manager at a bank. And listens to you, Bosco, saying that, you know what, women too have to be able to get this and this and that as the men. How do you make sure that these efforts of empowering our women do not backfire on us and raise other serious issues like gender-based violence in our homes?
Okay, thank you for that question. This is a very paramount question. As we talk about this, we don't leave behind the culture. We don't leave behind what has been taking place. Women as well as men have to take good responsibility over their families. They have to good care of their children. They have to create core values in the family. This shouldn't be forgotten. Even if you are a CEO, it doesn't remove your responsibility of looking about your children. It doesn't remove your responsibility of respecting your husband. It doesn't remove your responsibility of loving your family, loving your husband, doing, name it. The same applies to men. We also have to understand. We have to support our women. We have to support our mothers. We have to support our sisters. The same spirit goes on. We maintain our culture, but also we participate on available opportunities to make our families grow, our society grow, our country develop. Yes.
Today, the numbers are scarce on the percentage of men being battered by their wives, but it is very easy to find the numbers of women who have been hurt in their marriages by their husbands. This is a very worrying trend because we know that somewhere, somehow, there's a man who's being battered or mistreated by their wives. But we see very little or very few reporting about this. As a man seated just in front of me, how is your ministry helping out to ensure that the men are also able to report when they have these problems without being victimized or without being a laughingstock?
Thank you. First of all, let me tell you, if we see the numbers growing, it doesn't mean that cases are becoming many, but also this has an origin. After putting in place legal instruments, we had to even to make awareness campaign to make sure that if somebody is being violated, they have to report. This is how even women had to come out and report. Initially, many cases would go unreported. Yes.
But do you have numbers of men? Do you have numbers of men?
Even, I think even you haven't.
You have the numbers of men.
The numbers.
I want official numbers.
The numbers for men, though I can't mention the statistics, I know they are less than compared to women.
What is your comparison?
By our comparison is that number for women are relatively higher compared to those of men reporting. But this also has to go with what we've been saying, that where men normally think they are superior to women in deciding what is happening or taking place in the families. So what we're doing as a ministry, first of all, we put in place a mechanism that prevention. If prevention fails, we put in mechanisms trying to deal with what? With dealing now with the issues that are in place. For example, now we have what we call Isange one-stop centers, where they will be rolled out countywide at least each district hospital.
And this center was mainly for women to report cases of gender-based violence. This is what the perception has been. I'm telling you what the perception is.
You are talking about the perception, but talk about the reality. The reality is the center is open for everyone.
What percentages are we seeing if we look at the ratio of the reports that we see there?
Okay, I can't now mention the ratio of men to women, but what I can tell you is that even now you can hear some men coming out to say that this and this has happened in the family, I have been this and this, which is very good. It indicates that people now have started to understand their rights and what will be taking place. But what we insist on is not that one. We insist on prevention. We encourage the families to live mutually. We encourage the families to go back to their core values, to take good care of their families, to take good care of their children, to give all what has been happening, what we knew from our ancestors. This is what we encourage. But if something goes beyond control, then it has to be dealt according to the legal instruments in place.
Yes. So Economic empowerment is also very vital,
Sure.
very important, because we still see some women who solely depend on their spouses for some financial support. This makes them very, very vulnerable when it comes to control and manipulation. The question here is, then what has your ministry, or what is your institution, or how are you playing, or what role are you playing with other key players in ensuring that the women who want to do businesses are supported or promoted so that they are able to run their businesses and be economically independent?
As you said, if someone is poor economically, it even has some other positive effects. Even GBV reduces, even as many things, you can take your kids to good schools. Mentioned. As a ministry, we thought about this as one of the key strategies. And our government also is putting this at the forefront. For example, if you are aware, we have in place a strategy called the Women and Youth Access to Finance Strategy. This advocates specifically for women and youth who are facing these issues of accessing finance. This strategy, what it does in brief, first of all, we give guarantee, what we call guarantee, for women and youth up to 75%, to make sure that these people who have been hindered by accessing finance can at least be given a guarantee to make sure that they can do what? They can benefit from this program.
What's the uptake? What's the uptake for this fund today as we speak?
If we mentioning it up to date, from 2011 up to date, above 10 billion Rwandan francs have been allocated to women as an initiative of being given a guarantee. It's a holistic approach. We have those in rural investment facility, in SME, and alike. So this woman comes with a business proposal. Then we give a guarantee that facility is here to acquire a simple one, then to go. But we don't stop from there. We also monitor to see how they progress. Initially, even our government have put in place a bigger program called the National Employment Program that is advocating also for some specific groups have been having challenges, skills development, business and entrepreneurship. So where we embark at a mass of people to come, they come as group, they are being trained at each sector level now. We have 2 people called business development advisors that try to bring people with good ideas. They put them into paper, they advocate for the funding, which is a very good initiative, I think, that will have a bigger impact on a big mass of people, and specifically for these women and younger girls.
Because the worry here is, don't you think that you have a big task of shaking off this notion or this thought that Rwanda is a nation that just favors the women?
No.
You know, from the argument of having a law that states the number of seats that have to be reserved specifically for women, whether they run or not run, they must be women that take up those numbers. The numbers that you tell me about when it comes to this financing scheme that is out there, how do you shake off that notion or that thought that Rwanda is just a country where if you're a woman, you are definitely favored?
I think you're here to testify. You're here to testify. If we see what is happening in all sectors, you see that people are just being given opportunity. You come and compete. I have never seen where in an announcement where they say there's a female reserved what? For females. You just come and compete. Except where you mentioned that there's a quota system, and this also had an implication, as I told you, where it was originating from a history, where these people were being left behind, and you had to do something about it, of which we still advocate for, by the way. Go at rural areas and see what is happening. We still see these people who are still illiterate, and most of them are women who never went to school, while their brothers had gone to school. I think you are aware of that. Go into the streets, we're still trying to struggle with these street women vendors and workers. Where are they reaching from? See at rural women, what we call rural urban migration.
What is the struggle with them? The struggle, what does that mean? The chasing that we see them running battles with the police who are trying to move them out of the streets from hawking. What's the struggle that you're talking about? Are you helping them and saying, you know what, all these women that have been hawking out there, we have set up a place where we'd like to see them go to
this is what I'm telling you. We are working with the City of Kigali Ministry and the local government to make sure that we put these people into groups.
When will this happen? When will this happen?
as I told you, have this bigger program, of which I earlier mentioned, the Coordination Employment Program. It's already in place, and people have registered already at their sector levels. We are even still encouraging them to go there.
So when will we not see them in the streets running around?
Let me tell you, by the way, let me tell you, I think if you have moved anywhere, not only in Rwanda, you will see these people. Do you know the reason why? Even if we go now from this studio, we take all of them from the streets. Tomorrow we see another person coming. Do you know the reason why?
Why?
They expect, people in the village expect opportunities in towns. Every day they come. And I think it's very hard to put a preventive mechanism.
So it means you're failing in your policy of emphasizing on the issue of movement.
One of the instruments we're putting in place as a ministry is to make sure that we sensitize people in their localities to be empowered from there, of which this is a gradual change. As you are aware, development is a gradual change. It's a process. You can't just wake up and you find everything is in place. You have to deal with the mindset of people. You have to deal with capacity building. Then you have to deal with now empowering them and to see things coming into progress. And this is what we are advocating. We are calling upon these people. Please, opportunities are there for you. Come and take them up. Yes.
And then do you feel that this system or approach you're using is working? Because you keep saying that even if we take them all today, they will still be coming. So that means the system or the approach is faulty.
It's not faulty. As I told you when we started this show, I said that our government embarks on what we call decentralization to make sure that people benefit from where they are.
Okay, let's jump guns very quickly and look at the International Women's Day.
Yes.
And the big question here for us is, why do we have to celebrate this day? I mean, do we do it as Rwanda because the world is celebrating? What is of importance on this day, and why do we specifically wait or seem to be waiting for this day for us to come out of our shells and start talking about women and gender-based issues?
First of all, I have to talk briefly about the origin of this day. This day was started to be celebrated at global level in 1972, but in Rwanda it started in 1975, meaning we're celebrating it for the 40th time.
Why are we celebrating it?
So, as a country, there are three reasons. One, we celebrate achievements specifically that have been attained by women. We come and say, look, we have attained this. Secondly, we talk about the challenges. Though we have attained this, we still encounter these issues. Thirdly, how can we deal with these issues? So we sit down, we reflect what has been happening along the way, what is not being fixed as planned, what can be done.
Can't we have other forums to do this other than the International Women's Day?
The forums are always there.
Yes.
We always have the forums.
So why then should we wait for this day?
Then, this is specifically dedicated as it is indicated. Though we come in as brothers, but you come to see initiatives, what women have been doing. So,
yes.
To make it clear, for example, in Rwanda, I think we are proud to celebrate this day, depending on what has been happening on the lives of women. You can trace what has been happening. Go into political sphere,
yes.
Go into good governance, go into health, go into education, go into economic. A lot have been achieved, of which we need to celebrate.
And a lot has been achieved by some women who need to be celebrated, like in other cities where we've seen, centers or cities or physical features being named after these women. We have the Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe. We have, the Queen Elizabeth Park in Uganda. Here in Rwanda, I have not heard of any name of a place after a woman who inspired different women. Why don't we have this?
If we go through all the government policy instruments in place, and you go all into programs in place, they are all holistic. They are not desegregative. They involve everybody. This is seen in that lens. Secondly, we have ladies who have achieved a lot in Rwanda. I think even you yourself, you can name some of them.
We seem not to be celebrating them enough.
So that's what I want to come to.
Yes.
When we come here to celebrate this day, we pick some of these ladies. They give testimonies of what they have achieved.
And it ends there. It ends there and waits for another International Women's Day.
No.
Then we pick them again and it ends there. There's nothing to hold on to.
Let me try to,
yes.
Don't interrupt. Though we start this day on 8th, these women come and sit together. They sign kind of performance contracts, which are being evaluated during Rural International Women's Day that happens on 15th of October. This is even what will happen. We are not just celebrating. We are sitting and to evaluate and to put in place some mechanisms that will be evaluated at a certain day, which is also fixed, known. We are not just eating and celebrate, go and sleep, but we are renewing commitments.
Okay, Bosco,
Yes.
this is all the time we had for, but I still have a feeling that we didn't answer my question properly
I
on that
need to
particular
mention
issue.
the theme and the venue.
We know the theme. We will cover it throughout the week. We will have reporters go out to talk to them, but at least we've touched on the pertinent issues here, and more. We will definitely have another platform to talk about. That's all the time we had for now. And thank you so much for coming on the program. I was going to ask you, don't you feel uncomfortable being in that position and you are a man?
No. Well, as I told you, here in Rwanda, brothers partner with sisters, men partner with women. We work as a team, and we are proud to be working together as a team.
All right. Sure. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
There you have it. One-on-one comes to an end on that particular note. We definitely thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And to Kwizera and all those who have been listening and contributing in different ways through questions and suggestions, thank you so much for being with us. Use the hashtag 101RW or follow us on Twitter at 101RW. Or now you can like our Facebook page, and it's right there on your screen. My name, as always, is Eugene Anangwe. Goodbye for now.